Hey guys, it's Christina Marie here, and I wanted to bring you a special edition of LuLo Lit. It's not a special edition, it's just another edition. And I wanted to review The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I finally finished it. This was a great book. It's a love story, a life adventure between two cancer patients, Hazel and Augustus. And they fall in love, you know, and they just live life together. This was a really amazingly written story in that you really felt the love and the friendship between Augustus and Hazel. It was really interesting to see the perspective taken where both protagonists were cancer patients, meaning both protagonists had a possibility for an accelerated death, and how their lives were lived out around that fact. They met in support group, and their journey just kind of took off from there. They went to Amsterdam to meet the author of a book called something Affliction. I can't remember what it's called, by a guy, Peter Van Houten or Outen, who they went to go meet because apparently there was the story seemed to end at a place that Hazel, the female protagonist, wasn't happy with, so she wanted to know what happened to certain characters. And that whole experience, that whole book was kind of the blah 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 Affliction book, was a deep basis of their relationship and how it formed and grew from there on out. It was just a really interesting story. Hazel was a little gun shy of being in a relationship with Augustus because she thought that she didn't want to put him through the experience of losing her. And so at first she was a little standoffish about the whole relationship thing, but Augustus was very persistent and he was not giving up, you know. And I thought that was really interesting because he's a cancer patient too, so he understood why she was the way that she was, and they had an understanding, which was really interesting. Here's the funny part. I didn't like this book for the first 100 pages because it was just at a pace that I was uncomfortable with. I said, we need to give me something here. It was interesting to learn about them as characters, but I needed more plot development. But John Green knew what he was doing, and basically he was like, Christina, just shut the heck up. I know what I'm doing here. Just read the freaking book. And that's what I did, and I'm so glad I continued. It's funny because a lot of times if I'm not grabbed immediately, I won't read it. But I heard so much hype about this book, and so many of my friends, people that I trust and that I, you know, really listen to their recommendations and their opinions, they all told me how great this book was, and I was like, I have to keep reading. I have to see what people were talking about. Probably about halfway through is when the book finally took a turn for me, and I was like, wow, I love this. There was so much that happened, so much complexity in the story. The plot was great. The supporting characters were great. Isaac, who was Augustus's friend, was a great character as well. He was a character that I really appreciated. He could easily be overlooked in a sense that you just want to be enamored with Augustus and Hazel, but I thought Isaac was an excellent character, as well as Hazel's mom. Did Hazel's mom have a name? I don't even remember. But Hazel's mom was an interesting character for me as well, as was her dad. Well, heck, the whole book was great. Yeah, it started off a little slow for me, but halfway through it sped up a lot more, and the ending was perfect for me. I don't want to spoil anything, and I'm not going to. So this is a review that you can obviously watch if you haven't read the book, or if you haven't finished the book, because I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Overall, I really recommend this book. It takes you on a journey that you may not have necessarily anticipated. I don't have cancer. I don't know what that feels like, but I do know what it feels like to love, and I know what it feels like to be afraid of a deep relationship. I know what it feels like to be afraid to lose a friend. I know what it feels like to lose a friend. And so there were a lot of elements to this book that I could relate to, but it was really interesting how John took the perspective of 2 cancer patients and just let them live their lives out together as a couple, as friends, you know, how their families interacted, how their other friends interacted. It was just a very well thought out, well written, wonderfully executed piece of work. I am an avid fan of the website goodreads.com. So if you want to find me there, I'll leave that information down below. And I would love to have you as my friend on there, and we can talk books. I loved The Fault in Our Stars. It was a really, really great book. I gave it 5 out of 5. I don't give 5 out of 5. Typically, I would have gave it a 4.5, but I don't think that was an option. But it was just a really, really great book, and I highly recommend that you read it. It really makes you think about your understanding of how the universe works, how the world works, you know, whatever spiritual relationships you have or faith you have. It just makes you really think about all of that. So that's what I thought about the book. It was great. I loved it. I wish I could reread it and have the same emotions that I had with it initially. It makes you laugh, makes you cry, you know, it just makes you smile. It was a really, really good read. So that is my opinion of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Leave a comment down below if you've read the book. Tell me your opinion of it. Also, if there's any books that you're reading that you would like me to read, I would love recommendations. I love reading, and I'm on a roll, and I've already read 4 different books. So that's pretty awesome. Until next time, see ya. I don't know why I did that.